and then
Oh, really?
in full swing into basketball already. So
Ah,
yeah,
gotcha. Yeah. We'll get a couple weeks off, then go into indoor soccer. So soccer really is year round for her. So it's just how warm and how cool does she need to dress, depending on if we're temperature
yeah.
or indoor or outdoor. So that's all right.
Yeah, we've had concerts all week in my house. Both my daughters are involved in music, and so my oldest
No,
daughter's in college, and so she had her second performance of the year, and so we had that on Wednesday. We got free tickets to go to a concert, so I'm going to date myself here a little bit. We went and saw Styx and Loverboy.
ooh,
So
Nice.
nice.
we went to that concert on Tuesday. Had a daughter, my oldest daughter's concert on Wednesday. Had another concert yesterday for my youngest daughter for her school, and then we have Grand Cities Children's Choir on Saturday. So it's a
Nice.
week full of music for me. So
That's a lot of shows.
That
yeah,
is.
yeah, and it all comes at the same time, right? So
Of course, yeah.
it
Heaven
is
forbid they
what it
spread
is.
it out.
Yeah, why would we want to do that? That would be weird.
Yeah.
Welcome to Moto State Podcast, where we talk about motorcycles, life, and everything in between.
Yeah.
Well, everybody, welcome
Okay.
to another episode of Moto State Podcast. Ryan and I are joined today by Casey from Tab Performance. He was nice enough to join us. We may have bribed him or something, but still, he's here. However we got there, it doesn't matter. But Casey, thanks for joining us. Would you like to take a moment and introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about yourself and the company, and then we can kind of go from there?
Sure. Yeah. Again, my name is Casey. Tab Performance was originally started by somebody we affectionately refer to as the Todd Father. So I grew up in manufacturing, and you know, my brother and I are partners in this, and our goal was always to have a business together. We have some strengths that complement each other well, and it's typically in the areas the other one's weak. So even though we look a lot alike as brothers, we're usually pretty different, which is helpful. So long story short, we went on our own, got our own careers established. Mine was in manufacturing, and I kind of built a relationship with Todd that originally owned Tab Performance. A lot of times we get asked, what Tab stands for, and it's that Todd Allen Buchanan was his initials. And so,
Okay.
Oh, wow, okay.
anyway, so I had helped him with a couple of his original designs on different stuffs from the finishing standpoint. So making sure that it was a product that could be plated well or coated well, that withstand the rigors that a motorcycle is going to put something through. So that kind of turned into us looking for a business. Todd was looking to do something else at the time. And so it just kind of worked out. My brother and I took it over when I want to say about 99.5% of the company's sales were V-Rod. So my brother and I have owned and operated Tab here for the last 12 years. And, most of the products you see today are ours, but there are still just a couple of those legacy V-Rods that never say die, which is great. I mean, that was
Sure.
just, luckily we were able to pivot into some of the other models and get some acceptance from the community and have a couple of wins. Otherwise that V-Rod platform really has, when they stopped making it, was fortunately for us about the time that the Milwaukee 8 came out. And so that was when we really kind of made that jump. I feel like our claim to fame, if you look at the timeline wall of the history, was there was a video we shot on the first zombie baffle by an airport, and it was my brother and I on an iPhone just doing some flybys with that first test zombie baffle, and I think within I don't know, a month or so it had 1 million views, and we were kind of looking at each other like, holy crap.
we might have something here, right?
Yeah, apparently people are looking for these bikes to be like. I mean, the Milwaukee 8 was just so quiet. in relation to what the twin cams were. And I don't think it's so much at full throttle or if you're riding that it was a major difference. It was a lot at idle or the cruising speeds, right? They just a more mellow idle. And so everybody was kind of, I mean, they already sound quiet out of stock. And then when you layer that, it was just leaving people wanting more. And so being able to be quick to that, really, I think helped us kind of get a foothold in the industry. And, you know, you can have the nicest product in the world, but, it is still difficult to get in front of people, right? You know, 40 years ago, it was, you couldn't because they didn't have all these platforms and things like this to reach your consumers. And so you had to go through distributors or whatnot. And now, you know, that got easier for companies like us. But then I think there's kind of the pendulum swinging, right? Like now, yeah, it's easier to reach them through mediums like this, but it's also harder to get your product for customers to even understand or know about it because there's so much noise now, you know. So just, you know, like all things in business or life, everything just kind of, you know, bounces from one side to the other where,
Sure.
you know, the internet
Yeah,
was
so
great and easy, and then now all of a sudden it's like, holy cow, how do you get yourself
with
to
so
your
much
customer?
information, and then I feel like a lot of it, we've talked about it, a lot of people, you know, they take whatever they see on the interwebs as gospel, right? Like that, oh, it must be true, it's on whatever website. That may not actually be true, right? You know, right? But
Yep.
but
Yep.
that makes sense, right? Like you know, 40 years ago you had to go through a distribution network, you didn't have these platforms. Now it's the polar opposite, inundated. You're over inundated with all this information and trying to sift through all that to get to a target audience.
Yep. Yeah, and I think, you know, as the consumer, it was easy to, you know, just go on, find, you know, good information. And now, as people are kind of, I think, or hopefully swinging back more to the dealerships or to your, you know, your local experts. And so, I mean, those guys I think had a difficult time there for a while as everything was just internet and price and this, you know, and
Sure.
now things kind of come back to where, oh, wait a minute, we do see a value in that technician and his 30 years of experience. And, you know, I don't know what to trust. And so, you know, I think like all things in life, it kind of ebbs and flows. And I think we're kind of settling back into the middle. It's probably a healthier spot, but
Sure.
for both
Yeah,
parties.
I think the advantage of when you guys hit the market, and I would say you were, you're absolutely correct. I mean, it's your business, so you know. But from a consumer perspective, the M8 and then your platform kind of, you know, your exhaust kind of hitting the market at that time when people were really clamoring, I think, too, with the M8 for something different. Because even with the kind of exhausts that existed at that time, they all kind of ended up sounding the same on the M8 in the very beginning. You know,
Yeah.
if you were you know, I'm not going to name any other brands because we have your brand on here, right? But you could pick your brand, and all of them kind of sounded the same, and that was what sold me on because I rocked a pair for a while, actually for about 5 or 6 years. I have
Well,
that
thanks.
actually have that exact hat. And and the pipes that I had are rocking on another bike. One of my buddies bought them from me, so they live to this day. But I had the 4-inch zombie baffle with that kind of diamond cut on the tip with the round end, and I put him. I had him on my bike for a long time, just the regular, you know, slip-ons, right? And they just woke it up. I mean, it sounded so great. And then I cammed my bike, and I vibrated my buddy's garage door off of his house, and so that was a game changer when I put a cam in my bike. And ironically enough, I never actually ran those to their full potential because I had the stock head pipe on my bike the entire time, and it still sounded glorious. I mean, it was. It was an amazing thing, and so I think that you know you're you know, I would agree absolutely with your assessment in terms of when you guys hit the market and kind of the M8 at the same time. I think it really boosted you. I think what I really found to be helpful was all of the like YouTube videos and everything out there that did all the sound comparison videos, because to me that really, you really got to see who stood out in terms of, if you were looking for your bike to sound a certain way, right, or have that certain feel to it,
Yep.
that really made a difference, because like I said, in my opinion, it's just my opinion, a lot of the companies at that time sounded very similar on the Milwaukee 8, and
Yeah.
your exhaust really stood out as being something different at that time. And what I liked about it from my perspective is that you offered a product. Hey, you can have it be, nice sounding. You can have it be ridiculous sounding if you want, right? You kind of gave all the options, but I think the core element is that all of those options still kind of sounded the same, right? It was just
Yeah.
maybe a little bit louder, maybe a little bit throatier, maybe it gave your bike a little bit of a vibration feel. Like that was the difference I noticed when I did my cam, is that my bike actually had that kind of vibration back to it.
Sure.
Harley manufactured all the vibration out of the Milwaukee 8, right? And then it kind of brought it back. But I appreciated it, and what I liked about it too is that I know you guys have had a lot of iterations of your pipe since then. And when I replaced it and I took it off, I cleaned it up real well, and it was the powder coated black slip-ons, cleaned it up real well. It didn't look a lot different than when I took it out of the box. And I mean, I ran the shit out of that thing. Probably, I'm trying to think. It had 45,000 miles on them for sure when I gave it to my buddy, and they weren't rusted. They weren't. I mean, they looked really good. So. Good on you guys for
Nice.
for making a good product. I mean that's
That's
really,
saying a lot being up north too, right? I
Right?
mean, a lot
I
of
mean,
salts, a lot of
yeah, like all kinds of shit. And I'm not a
Where-
fair weather rider. I rode that
Right.
thing in everything, right? I mean, not snow. I'll give you that. I didn't ride it in much snow, but I have some
Right.
pictures. You can see my bike parked next to some hella high snow drifts. As soon as the road's clear and dry and they clean them off, I'm out. I don't
Sure.
give a shit what the temperature is. So
Sure.
That's awesome.
Yeah, no, that, and I think that's, again, back to our original the conversation of us getting our start. You brought up the coding. That is something that's true to us. Is that, that's my background, my history is understanding coatings, and so, that is really important, more than a lot of people would maybe originally think. You have different black, especially coating options, and some will protect the heck out of it, but then you get that chalky white, right, that comes out from that undercoat. And so others, that they just go straight over the top, and then we're not going to give away all of our trade secrets.
yeah, don't do it.
But there's only so many options or so many ways to do things, and so just understanding those, and understanding, there are some limitations to the coatings that we use too. Everything's a give and a take, but
Sure.
our goal was always, I'd rather it look as good in 5 years as it does out of the box than put some other coating that maybe is a little glossier or a little, but in 18 months is going to be chalky or white, or, and so
Sure.
there's definitely a balance. And some of those things are pretty minor. I think, that maybe even the average person wouldn't necessarily notice out of the box. But, when you do grow up into coatings and you've seen every manufacturer bring you, oh, this is the next latest and greatest, and you start to pick some of those things out. And so for us, it was really important, because, let's be honest, that, when it comes to exhaust, we certainly aren't the first. We're not the oldest company that's been out there. So, and I would venture to guess a muffler from 1960 is pretty similar in construction to the slip-ons of today. So, everybody does something new. Whoever, I don't even know who the first person was to put an aluminum end cap on the back end of it, but it sure dresses it out nice. And so now everybody does it, right? And so,
Sure.
there are only so many things that you can do to really make yours different. And so, for us, we focused on sound early, like you said, with that M8, and then our coatings, we take a lot of pride in. That isn't to say that somebody can't get one from ours that, doesn't perform well. There's some, thing underneath the surface that we, put it through a cleaner and the cleaner didn't get it all removed and now it peels after, and so, that's what our warranty's for. And we do take care of that for our customers and whatnot. But when done properly, which the vast majority are, then, it should hold up and it should look good over time. So yeah, that's always been a really important piece for us. And then, kind of the other thing I think that we focused on, we've talked about how consumers' purchasing patterns and behaviors and needs have changed over the years, and everybody's so focused on trying to keep your costs down, but provide, what the customer needs, and then I have to compete at the internet pricing and I have to do this and that. And so, for us, what the things that we kind of hold as our non-negotiables are, the quality of the piece holding up, of course, and then our customer service. So I think Luke and I were talking before we got on here, and, we staff an abnormally large percentage of our total employee population of people to just sit there and wait for the phone to ring. There's a lot of companies that still go through that distribution layer. And when you do that, every time somebody touches it, there's an added cost to the end user, right? And so we try to go out there and go direct to our customer or through a dealer. So there's, at most one touch, and we love our dealers. We want our customers to go to the dealers. But by removing one of those touch points and allowing, folks like you to help share the word and get our message out and what we're about and what we have, that's allowed us to maintain, that price point while still providing that customer service where when some other companies, yeah. And when you're a company and you're trying to fight globally against competition and maintain your customers, one of the easiest things to slash is that customer service department. I can scrub the phone number off my website in 2 seconds. I can get rid of the email. I can put a chat bot on there that just sends the customer in a loop, in a circle, and they get nowhere, and eventually they get frustrated and move on and whatever, right? Like
we've all been there, right? I mean, that's the worst.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not throwing any brands under the bus. I did have a a washing machine that put me into one of those tailspins, and honestly, you get kind of numb to it, and I don't even remember what the brand was. And so here it is 10 years later, I'll probably end up buying the same brand, even though I swore that day I never would. Like,
sure. Yeah.
So, it's not that doing that necessarily alienates your customer base from ever purchasing from you again, but they also aren't going to remember you, So for us, we take a lot of pride in those folks, and those folks take a lot of pride in working for Tab Performance, and they really do care. And they aren't just the cheapest staff I can put on there to take an order. These guys and gals all ride. They all know our product. They've all been to rallies. They've all installed the product, all have different, expertise or whatever. But these people know our product, and they know the product that it's going on. And I think that is something that I notice with reviews and different stuff that customers seem to remember, and so again, it's not that they necessarily hold it against you, but we're able to keep our costs, in line with what I think is fair and reasonable, while still providing the customer something different. And so that's, as with any company, you want to put yourself, what makes you different than every other brand, right? And that's one of the ones for us. I think you could go on and Google Harley Davidson exhaust and just start trying to find numbers and call and see what that experience is like. And I can promise you, we are in a small pool of those who answer the phone, want to talk to somebody, want to help them with that buying decision, right? Because that's, especially when you get into the aftermarket world, it can get messy. I mean, you all have either worked on a bike that 6 other people had their hands in, or, I mean, it's messy.
Oh yeah. I love that thought process though. It's like, hey, we want to create a positive experience because we want to be remembered. Where most people are like, I don't want them to hate us, like, and go badmouth us, which happens, right? But it's a good point. Sure. Like, that was 10 years ago. I don't remember who the hell I bought my dishwasher from, but I'll probably do it again because I don't remember. I wanted to forget them. And I never thought of it that way, but I think your point on. Like, I want them to remember us and remember that positive experience because
Yep.
something's positive, you're going to hopefully remember it, or more likely to remember it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
Who it was.
what I like about what you just said, Casey, was that when you were talking about the product, there was two things that stood out to me. Number one, you said you weren't going to compromise on quality, and we all know that we can go on Amazon. All of us could go on Amazon in 10 minutes and order an exhaust system that is going to be less expensive than yours. I know I can
sure.
find one, right? But I can almost guarantee you that there's a reason why it's less expensive, and quality is going to be the number one thing, right? We all know
Yep.
that. The next thing that I thought was really cool is that when you were talking about customer experience being different, you focused on your people, and that from a leadership, because I'm a leader in healthcare, from a leadership and a business perspective, that's going to serve you so well. Because you didn't talk about yourself, you didn't talk about your brother, you talked about your people and how your people make you different, and that is a good on you, because somewhere along the line somebody taught you that, or you learned a good lesson, because that is going to serve your business so well. Because too often times, right? I mean, what was one of the first things we talked about, right? I said I could turn you into a polar bear with AI. Right.
Sure.
We all know that digital process is becoming, involved in so many things. And by humanizing it, you're making it personal. And in a industry like we're in, where everything is drawn from passion, when you make it personal, you're going to win every time. I mean, that's just a fact. It is. And, you put that, when you put that energy out there, you get that energy back, right? You get more of those good customers and return customers, and then people that are going to spread the word, right? Because at the end of the day, the one thing we all know about is that, if the quality of your product was terrible, we'd be able to go on YouTube right now and find 100 videos of a terrible quality product, right?
Sure.
Yep.
But you know what we find a lot more of? I could find 100 videos in 5 minutes of what that sounds like, right?
Sure.
And people
Yep.
doing drive-bys, and how, they're like, people starting it up for the first time in their garage and then dropping 10 expletives of, what it sounds like. I mean, we can find all of those too. And not that we can't find them on other products, but I think that when you stand behind it, like you said you did with your, not compromising on quality and focusing on that part of your business that's going to make you different and ultimately make you better, right? Because, different is one thing. Different maybe isn't always better or good, but in terms of how you explained it, it is going to be better in the long run. So I like that a lot. That speaks volumes for your business and your commitment to the quality of product that you're putting out.
Sure. Well, I appreciate that. Yeah. And, honestly, you mentioned some of those brands, and that's not to say that that's a bad thing, right? I mean, I know you weren't saying that, but like, there's a place for every product. And,
Sure.
for us, we can't compromise on quality, because if I want to have a customer support team that wants to care, well, if I had quality issues that were rampant, I couldn't afford, I would have so many phone calls I couldn't afford to keep, and so those companies that's not, their whole business is built around, yep, it's super cheap. And if 18 months from now something happens, don't call me, throw it in the trash and buy another one, because I didn't charge you hardly anything for it in the first place. And,
Exactly.
but that's not the customer that we're after. And so, finding, and that's what we really try to work with our customers, is to tell them, I think, well, what's the best cam? What's the best exhaust? Well, that's not an answer, right? I don't have an
Right.
answer for you.
Right. Right.
I can figure out with you what your values are, and then I can get you the best value for what you have to spend, and
Yep.
so, that's what you were talking about, right? Is the customer needs to find value in that purchase. You can find cheaper ones. I would
Yep.
venture to guess, for the right customer for us, you can't find a better value product. So the customer that wants that product to be good quality, have the sound they're looking for, and all those things, you won't find a better value product. And the customer that's not their primary focus, that's okay. Then, we have those conversations with customers. Okay, well, maybe we're not the right brand on this piece of your build, and maybe your next one we are, or maybe there's another piece of that build. We make handlebars too. We make a whole assortment of other, product, so we can still take care of a lot of customers, even if not it's not necessarily what they originally called for. And so, we would rather, like we talked about earlier, if you have customers that are happy, that are fans, that's worth everything. And so
Yeah.
the quickest way to bury that is to put them in the wrong thing. I mean, it helps your sales for that day. It
Yeah.
helps the metric that day, right? And the one thing that I think is kind of funny that, I would say is also probably unique to us is, we are one of the companies out there who, on our sales folks that are out there talking to our dealers or this or that, that really 95% of their salaries are based on salary, not commission, because we really stress to our folks that we want you to build a relationship. We want you to build, whether it's with the customer at the rally or whether it's the dealer. We want you to build that relationship to make sure that, because I don't want them sticking a parts manager with a stocking order of stuff that he can't move that he didn't want, because
Sure. They're
again,
incented for the right reason. I mean,
correct, yeah,
I mean, sure. I
yeah,
love
and
that.
so
I love that approach.
yeah. So anyway, that's just kind of trying to look at that holistically and make sure that the decisions you make are congruent with what you're trying to do. Because again, if you did cut the corner on quality or this or that, then again, literally the one thing I said we're trying to do to separate ourselves, we'd bury ourselves, right? So, you know,
Sure.
but anyway, yeah. So it's been a fun ride. It's been interesting, and we've had certainly a lot of help along the way. So,
That's
and
great.
a little bit of luck.
Well, sure. You always gonna be a little bit lucky, right?
Yeah.
Um, you talked about like the potential customer that doesn't fit your box, so to say, that is, they're looking for the least expensive and quality isn't top of mind for them. It's more price point. And that's, hey, we all have a price point. And I get it.
Yeah.
I've been there, done that, still have a price point. I'm certainly I haven't been lucky enough to win the Powerball, so I have a price point on everything. So,
Yeah.
do you feel that, this day and age, the retail client, the retail customer looks a lot different than it did 10, 15, 20 years ago? Do you, like, with so much online availability, without that personal touch, without those conversations that you're talking about, at least that's what I feel like where you see a lot of customers nowadays. Do you guys run into that, and how is your philosophy as an organization? Have you mapped your philosophy from internal and external to around that to make sure you don't become a Amazon or whatever, a Walmart.com type company approach?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, so, one of the things that you had brought up was a price point, right? And so what we run into is, more times than not, the people that care enough to pick up the phone and call are the ones that do fit our box. So that the ones that don't are pretty rare. But what is more common, where we end up kind of, I don't know, costing ourselves a sale, if you will, is someone that thinks that they want to change the baffle for this reason or that, and or they, they're dead set they want the zombie baffles. Okay, well, what are your goals? Okay, well, in the next 6 months I'm going to do this, and then I'm going to drop a stage 2 in it, and then I'm going to, and he keeps going on down the line. Well, to what you said, well, that's fine, but we don't all have, after we just spent whatever on our new bike. Most of us that go car shopping, bike shopping, home shopping, that purchase is pretty much already capped to what we can do. There's a very small percentage of us, right, that
Sure.
can just go best of best CVO. Oh, and now I can drop 10 grand on accessories.
Right.
That's
Right.
not most of us. And so,
Right.
understanding that, it's like, I don't care if it's a 2015 Street Glide or a 2023, 24, 25. For that individual, that's a brand new vehicle. They're excited, and it was pretty much what they could do at the time, right?
Yeah.
And so we do have those conversations. It's okay. Well, do we want to do a set of slip-ons right now? Or, if you really do want to do all that, then if I sell you these slip-ons and then you want to go with the stepped header, Well, now the slip-ons aren't going to fit that step header. And then you're going to be frustrated with me because you thought you could go from slip-ons to a header. Well, you can. And if you're okay with that, going from slip-ons to a header is still a really good system. It's going to work well with cams, and you're going to be happy. You're going to be fine. But if you are dead set that you need a stepped header because I have to have the absolute best performance and I can't sacrifice the 2 or 3 foot-pounds of torque or the 4 or 5 horsepower, okay, well then let's not waste, our slip-ons. We are coming out with a lower price point one that we think will help us still bring a quality price point or muffler to a wider period. But currently they range anywhere from $650 to $1,000 just for a set of slip-ons. And so if your eventual goal is to end up with a stepped header, well, let's think about that. Okay, well then let's hold off until we can do, the full system. And then at that point, we can get you set up with something that's going to be a better value for you in the long term, because once you do that and you cross that bridge, now you got to tune it. Well, now there's an extra, anywhere from $600 to $1,200, depending on if you have to have it calibrated around the dyno or not, or plus the unit, or if you're going to buy a license or pay for the device, or, there's a million options to go. Sure. But, and that's where I think a lot of customers just, they don't necessarily realize that. And so we want to help them from making a mistake where it'd be easy to sell them and they'd be happy. They'd buy a set of slip-ons, but they'd be ecstatic, right? It sounds great. Well, it wouldn't be until 18 months later that they'd actually be disappointed. And you probably could get away with that because they'd be like, well, it's not really your fault. Well, it's like, well, but we could have done better, right? We can do better on it. We can make sure that for the customers that want it, and we try to put the information there. I'm not saying that situation has never happened to somebody. I mean, I can't guard against it, right? But we do try to put good videos on our product pages. We try to put a lot of information, and I'm guilty of it. I go on a lot of times and I don't even read, right? You look at the picture, your buddy had what you wanted, you click, and all of a sudden it shows up and it's not what you wanted, and you're mad at the company, and then you realize, oh, crap. I didn't read.
Well, how many times, I order things from Amazon here and there. I mean, how quickly I've just gone in, oh, yeah, that's what I need. Click order now. And then I'm like, oh, shit, I got the wrong size. Because I didn't read. I rushed through it. I want it now. And it's next day delivery. I want it now. And that doesn't always work out too well. You got to slow down and take a breath.
I think it's really funny, though, when you were talking about the product itself. And I'm like, when I've done things to my bike, and even when I did the exhaust, like, I'm a realist, right? So like when I purchased my motorcycle, I knew that coming out of the factory, it could probably do more than my capabilities as a rider. So when I say that I have to upgrade the suspension, I'm saying that because it's a dick measuring contest, right? I mean, at the end of the day, that's so when somebody always says, oh, well, I don't want to lose those 2 foot-pounds of torque. I'm like, are you racing that bike? Are you bringing your slip of paper to bike night to show everybody what your torque numbers are? Like, how does it make you feel when you sit on it? Right? Does it make you feel cool? Does it give you that, like, that feeling when you crack the throttle that you wanted? Because if it does all those things, what's 2 foot-pounds of torque? That's what. That's always what I ask.
They're
like,
never gonna know. They're never gonna know.
No one ever knows, right? And that's always like, does it look the way you want it to look? Does it sound the way you want it to sound? Does it feel the way you want it to feel when your ass is in the seat? Because if all those answers are yes, you have won the lottery. Like that's all. Like that's what I always look at it like, because that was the first thing. Like when I had your Tab Performance pipes on with the zombie baffles, and I started it the first time, and I had just had stock slip-ons, and I started the first time, I was like, holy shit, like I felt like I won the lottery. And then when I put the cam in, I hadn't even ridden it yet, and I started, and I was like, these pipes were the best decision I've ever made in my whole life, right? I hadn't even ridden it one block, and it was like rattling my buddy's garage door in his house when we started it up the first time, and then he did the same thing, like rattled off a whole bunch of curse words because he was blown away by what it sounded like. And that's always my measurement of anything is, if the answers to those questions are yes, you win, right? I mean, I know that sometimes for some people that like that dyno tune, that whatever, that really matters, right? For some people, but I'm here to tell you, like for most of us, even even if that piece, even if that number on the paper does matter, you probably can't outride it anyway. You know, you probably can't outride the capability of what that bike can do. So,
For
you
sure.
know, that's so that's the, you know, kind of, you know, that part of it. You know, Casey, we've talked a lot about your exhaust. What's your one product that you guys are like the most proud of that's not exhaust related?
Oof. um, you know, I'd have to. You threw me for a loop here. I thought coming in here, other than like, you know, being able to. I mean, you guys look super natural on here, and I keep worrying about, like, are my eyes jumping from the camera to the picture to the YouTube?
You're
uh,
good. You're good.
Other than that, I wasn't worried about getting a question I wouldn't have an answer right off the top of my head for. Um, Giving that one some thought, you know, for us, I it would be less a product and more an answer of just what we do internally as far as manufacturing. I can get into that a little bit. I mean, if you held a gun to my head and said, "Hey, you have to answer," I would probably say the handlebars, because they're, you know, especially on the Indian, they've taken off. We've on the Challenger created a reduced reach bar that is extremely comfortable, that it doesn't look like you see a lot of those Harley ones, and I'm not knocking them. They're those big curved ones. They're super ergonomic, but they don't look the way that a lot of people like the
Yep.
styling on the bike. And again, that's
Yep.
not uh, for a lot of people that do purchase those. They probably do like that style. So again, I don't care. Everybody has a different style, but finding them comfortable and kind of matching, you know, what the current trend is or whatever. You know, those have been extremely popular. Our customers, with handlebars, it's different than exhaust, right? You know, with exhaust, if it's loud, everyone's like, oh, you know, loud pipes save lives. But with handlebars, when you have a customer come up and say, you know, I've had shoulder pain, and you know that riding is their passion, and their passion has caused them pain for years, and just they love this Challenger that they just bought, or the, you know, and then getting them a set of bars that makes them be able to ride without pain. You can just see, like, that to me is super rewarding, right? So you end up designing a product. Yeah, is it cool? And do I want them to sell, you know, 100,000 of them a year, and, you know, have fancy new things at the company so we can do that? I'm sure that's the goal of every business, right? You know, but
Sure.
at the end of the day, it is super cool when you have a customer come up to you and say, you know, you've been able to bring the joy back to my passion, you know.
Yeah.
That's really cool. And so I would say the handlebars for that reason. You know, when I was kind of struggling off at the start to kind of come up with which non-exhaust related product I would say, something Luke and I had talked about that I feel like is a little bit of a misconception that we are still trying to get out there on the interwebs is, you know, we have brought a lot of manufacturing in-house. So, you know, when my brother and I started, and we were just making these V-rods, we didn't have tube benders. We didn't have, you know, fancy CNC equipment.
Sure.
So we had all that contracted out. We'd bring it in, we'd assemble it, we'd do all of our pieces, we'd box it, ship it, and do that. But we didn't do a lot of the manufacturing. And so we've brought about 98% of the content on a slip-on inside of our doors. And so we've had to assemble a lot of talent from, you know, our local community of folks. And what I think does set our manufacturing process apart is we have a lot of automation. You brought up, you know, AI and different stuff like that. But all of our automation, save for one piece of equipment, is brought in to work alongside of our people. And so our cobots don't make that person's job welding any, it doesn't remove the welder. It just makes that welder's job easier. He's
Sure.
not having to hold that torch, that heavy liquid cooled torch or whatever, for, you know, 8 hours a day. He has to make sure the settings are right. He has to make sure that the welds are, you know, I need a trained welder to actually make sure that the weld is good. I can't just trust this robot to, you know, stripe it and move on, and have some guy that doesn't know what he's doing there, making sure that the settings are correct, making sure that we're inspecting it, making sure we're knocking the BBs off, doing these things. And so, if you go on our Facebook or our YouTube, you'll see some of the, we give little snippets into our manufacturing process. And so, being that we are bringing a lot of this in, one could say that, where is there the experience or, but we've been able to partner with a lot of really good people while we develop that and hire some very pretty amazing folks that have allowed us to do manufacturing at a rate that I feel like is better, cheaper, safer for our people, while not eliminating those people's jobs, right? Like, we're not taking blue collar jobs away. I said save for one piece of equipment. Most of our rule of thumb is, if it's a job I wouldn't want to do myself, then that's not a business that I'm really interested in pursuing. And the nasty thing of chrome is polishing. And so those of you that love polishing out there, if that is, I'm sorry, then you're a tougher man than me, but no, it's dirty. I mean, I used to work at a finishing shop, and these guys would come out and they'd take their goggles off and they looked like raccoons. I mean, it's dirty, it's hot, it's hard on your body. Even the guys that are good at it, that are artistic, that are just crazy good at it, I mean, it's tough, right? And so we do have a fully robotic polisher. That thing's behind a cage. You don't get within 15 feet of that thing. It would tear a body in half, right? It had, I think, 4-foot footings poured in it for, just mounting it in. So we had to, our concrete was poured for, obviously, forklift traffic and everything. And we had to cut out a section and pour it that deep just to mount this robot. So it's, but the one nice thing is, if you've ever been in a finishing or a polishing shop, there's two things with those. One, you don't, it's not the most sanitary environment. And two, you don't dare chew bubble gum because it'll start getting crunchy real quick. So the air quality, right?
Sure.
And so with this system, unlike most dust collections, we actually have a wet system. And so instead of having all this airborne particulate that our employees are breathing in, it keeps everything into this sludge that then gets down and basically burned off and then disposed of properly. And so by doing that, we've basically eliminated the worst part of our manufacturing. That, again, is the one job in the plant I would not want to do myself on a daily basis. And so, that one does run, and there's still a guy that has to load it and unload it and know how to do it. So it's, but
you've improved the quality of life of these employees that would typically, without these type of machines, would have a really physically hard job, a challenging job. So they can continue where maybe they're 50 and they've been doing this for 25 years. They're wore out, but they can work till retirement age, hopefully, or whatever that number is, that age is, and they're not beat to hell. That's a big deal, and you can retain that talent, right? You don't hopefully don't have as much turnover, I would hope.
Yeah, and for the other people in the plant that aren't the polishers, like I was saying, like you don't want to be within 100 yards of a spot like that typically, without you. And what I always tell people when I'm taking them through the tour is, I've got a column for the building that's 3 feet from the opening of the polisher, and I'll just tell them, walk over there and just wipe your finger down the pole or look up, and there's no dust on the pole. Like, it's none. It looks clean.
Awesome.
And it's not because I get out there with my Swiffer and mop
Oh, we got another tour. Hold on.
But no, that's important, right? I mean, you want people to be comfortable, happy, and healthy, and I think that's really a focus of ours. And so, but again, on the rest of the robotics and automation, it's just more about how can we assist folks. And so, exactly Luke's point, I grew up, like I said, working in manufacturing, and was fortunate enough to have the opportunity to manage a line of 70 people early on in my career, and probably in my early mid-20s. And as I'm sure all of you would know, is you have a lot of people with a lot of experience, and the first thing is, oh gosh, here's some 20-year-old idiot. And and looking back, I think I was different, but I don't know, I probably was the 20-year-old idiot. But the thing I did remember, though, is a lot of those folks, they do get to a point where they're tired, they're wore out, but they can't quite yet retire. And you see them reach a point where it's, oh, what am I going to do now? Or, 2012, 10, when when there was a pretty big downturn and a lot of places had reduction in force. And so now, those skills are not necessarily transferable unless there's a similar type role. And so these folks who earned the opportunity to hit this earning potential, it's tough for them to replace that, right? And so, for us, we're trying to keep those folks and, utilize your knowledge and your experience and your skills with this new technology. And one, hopefully every person I hire, I hope retires at Tab because they want to stay. But
Sure.
the reality of the situation is somebody's going to grow or outgrow you, and need a challenge and have to leave you, or any other number of reasons life takes them to so we want our folks to be able to do that. And so I want them to be able to retire at Tab, and I hope we grow fast enough to continue to challenge them and give them the opportunities they need. And if not, we and if there's somebody who's, there's all different types, right? Like, some folks want to be challenged. Some people want to hop into work, do a great job, stay focused. And at 5, when I close the door behind me, I don't think about it again. And that's okay too, right?
Yeah.
So but on all fronts, we want our people to be able to have that opportunity. And so like those cobots, again, it's, they see the welding and I get flooded with Facebook comments of, oh, another robot taking away a blue collar job. And it's like, well, and shame on us. Maybe if we had a little bigger pan showing that the operator was literally right next to this cobot, maybe that, so again, I'm not saying anything other than that's something I am really proud of. Outside of the exhaust, is that we've been able to do this, helping make those jobs more desirable, make you be able to do it longer.
The workers have changed too, right, Casey? I mean, you know that to be true. And so if we want the next generation of workers to do that, the newest generation of workers don't want to give up their entire humanity to a job and then retire at 60 years old and not even be able to do anything in their retirement because they're broken and beaten and battered and whatever, right?
Yep.
And so you provide an environment that is that makes it so people can do it longer and not be destroyed when they get to the end of the road, right? I mean, I think it's a noble pursuit, and I commend you again for it, because what did I hear you say? You kind of, again, it was like a lot of focusing on the people. I still want to do this chrome product, but how am I going to do it, right? So I get this machine that can do it without all of the environmental effects, with all of the decimated to the people, without breathing in chrome dust all day long, and all the other people that aren't working in that environment that have to breathe it in, right? Again, it was focusing on the people. And I love this conversation because you get an opportunity to pull back the curtain and see all of the things that we don't see on Instagram and Facebook and everything there, right? And it really does humanize your company in a way that was much different than I even anticipated going into this conversation. And I appreciate that, because I think that it gives all of us out there that, if someone was thinking about, if they're trying to decide what kind of exhaust to buy right now, I really hope that they think about your company, because you've humanized all these aspects. You've talked about how you do things different. You've talked about your customer service in a way that somebody could walk away and feel like, yep, I paid, $35 more or whatever it is, right, for this product, but I helped support this business that I can get behind because I heard all of the good things that they do. And,
well, hey, if you're looking for a job, this may be a great place to work. I mean, there's
right,
obviously
in the manufacturing field, right?
Yeah, I mean, what I also hear is quality of your work life is top priority. I mean, quality of your product and quality of your work life of your employees. That's all you can hope for.
I got sent a picture from my buddy last night. He's a welder. He got his thumb slammed in between two pieces of 5,000-pound steel. And he didn't break anything, but he's got stitches, and now they're worried about whether or not his thumb's going to survive because of the crush injury, and so and he was talking about how pissed he was because it was But at least it's the end of our riding season. He's not. He goes, if this would have happened in the spring, I'd be really pissed. I'm like,
Oh,
dude,
yeah.
if you lose your thumb, you're still going to be really pissed. Like, you know, good thing is, you know, we can put a toe on there because your big toe is the same as your thumb. So, you know, we can replace it, no problem.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
funny. Little
Yeah.
duct tape and super glue. It'll be fine.
That's
It'll be fine.
right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah, well, you know, that's probably the heaviest comment we've made so far. And I had a family member here, you know, we talked about kids coming from the other side here. So I apologize if I looked a little distracted.
Oh, that's okay.
No, you're good.
I told him, I was like, I've got a podcast coming up. So I was like, we got to stay out of dad's little dungeon down here.
I'm just excited my dog hasn't barked yet, and she's laying right down next to me. So hey, it's I get it. I get it.
For real,
Fair enough.
I put mine in the kennel. So yeah, I was
Yeah.
you know all the things we do to prepare for it. No, I
Yeah.
get it. I get it completely. So you know, let's humanize this one more time. So because Luke and I talk about this on our podcast too. So Luke and I are both girl dads, and we know that
Sure.
you have a family too, Casey. Tell me a little bit about what you've done to balance your work-life balance in your life and for your employees with your company. You know, how do you, because obviously you're a father and you're a husband, and what do you do internally with for yourself and for your company to make sure that you're balancing all the right things?
Yes, lots of caffeine, little sleep. No,
Hey, that's a real thing. That's a real, you know, I've been drinking. It's coffee, right?
Yeah.
like at 3:00 in the afternoon, and you're drinking coffee.
No,
you know
that's
it's real.
that's standard. What's your secret? Yeah.
yeah. Oh, fair enough. Okay. Yeah. No, all joking aside, it's, you know, the one thing that I, you know, as you go through, whether it's school or whatever, and everybody has all these tests, and they, you know, personality, you know, and I forget Myers-Briggs, and then it was pretty soon. There's 80,000 names now. I
Yep.
can't even keep up with them all, but
Sure.
Yep.
at every turn, mine's always been, you know, people bring me energy, I guess. And so, you know, luckily for me, I think that's, it makes it easier, right? So when you, and don't get me wrong, I make time for fun, but when you wake up and then it's getting kids ready for school, we get them to school, you go to work, it's being there for the people that need you at your company in the role that I happen to have found myself in, and then, or customers. And then, you know, you drive home and then it's dad taxi, and you know, you're constantly pulled, and then it's, you know, supper and laundry and all the things, and then trying to coach 4 girls basketball teams, and you know, doing that kind of thing. It's I think, lucky for me, that is what gives me energy, right? So even when I'm tired, it's easy to, I got, you know, a lot of folks might be like, I gotta go to basketball practice tonight, and you know, to me, it's like I get to do that. I get to spend time with these kids, and you know, I was joking with my wife today, and I had to take one of my daughters, just a normal routine checkup, doctor's appointment, and so I got to school, and my oldest, you know, she had asked if I would bring her Subway, because I hadn't brought her lunch yet this year or whatever. So I bring it in, and the kids that her friends that have been friends since, you know, kindergarten. So we've known them for years, and you know, you walk into school and they see you, and you just see a huge smile, and it's like, to me, that's one of the coolest things, you know.
Yeah, that's awesome.
That's happened to me in a long time. Was, you don't get a lot of opportunity when I'm coaching these kids. I'm coaching them when we're, and then it's out the door because they got someplace to be, and whatever, and just seeing them in a more normal state where they are surprised to see you, and they're happy to see you, makes you feel just about 10 feet tall, right? And so
It sounds like you did. They didn't run enough sprints because they're happy to see you.
I'm the assistant coach, so I'm the guy that builds them back up after he tears them down. So no.
That's right. Yep. You're the good cop. That's right. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm not an idiot. I didn't sign up to be the bad guy.
I love
We
that.
got-
That's great.
They're getting into 7th grade, so we've got feelings that, you know, we don't understand, and so I got to be the
Yes.
good cop. I'm not signing up to be the bad guy. But,
Attaboy. Smart man.
no, but But you're right though. I mean, everybody's life's that way, right? Everybody thinks, oh my gosh, but that's another thing that I think I always try to, like, I hear friends or somebody say, "Ah, I don't know how our parents did it." Well, when our parents were raising us, grandma and grandpa didn't have a cell phone that they could text you every 2 seconds. And,
Or
it was
track
like,
you, knew where you're
yeah,
at.
you saw them once every, they got to see the grandkids, and I wouldn't trade it. Like, my kids have a great
Sure.
relationship with their grandparents, and they're closer than I ever was with mine because of that opportunity, right? But that's one more thing to manage. That's one more, your kids, now there's an app for every single activity, and none of them can be on the same app. And God forbid the calendars all come together. And
Preach it, brother. Preach it, brother. Oh
yeah.
my gosh.
And one of my
Seriously.
friends was saying the other day, he's like, I don't know how our parents did. And it's like, well, yeah, don't you remember when we went to school? Basketball practice was Monday, Wednesday, Friday at 5:30 to. It didn't change.
Right.
And
Right.
there weren't crossover seasons at AAU this and
Right.
well, these overlap. It was during this season. It's this time. I don't care if you have a program or if you like. It doesn't change. That's the time we have practice at that time, right? And
Yeah.
so, now there's there's more opportunity, which I'm happy that for the kids, because not everybody loves sports, and now with all these different interweavings, I think there's more things kids can do to find a passion,
Sure.
which is awesome.
Right.
But it is certainly more difficult, I think. I'm
Well,
not to say our parents didn't have challenges, but man,
yeah. Our cell phones have made us more efficient, but they've also made us dumber. And
Yeah.
I'm here to tell you, when I was 8, I'm gonna say 10. When I was 10 years old, I bet you I knew 50 phone numbers by heart.
Oh,
And
yeah.
every
sure.
person that those 50 numbers went to, right? I don't even know
Yep.
one now. I couldn't tell you. I maybe know my number, but only because it's written on a business card, right? Like that's the thing, right? And so we've become this hyper efficient system with our smartphones and everything, and we have this instant access. But in a lot of ways, we've become dumber. My wife's a teacher, and I work in healthcare, so being of service to our community is really important to us. And
Yep.
one of the things that we talked about is that one of the things kids have lost is that like if you tell a kid go outside and play, they look at you in the face and go, "What the hell are you talking about?" Like, okay, I won't tell you that. Then I'm going to give you a pack of matches. I'm going to give you an axe. And you know what I mean? Like, go out and figure it out. And they're like going to look at you like, if that's what my parents did, right? Here's a shovel, here's some matches, and here's a pocket knife. Go find something to cut down, to burn down, or to dig up,
Yep.
and come back when the streetlights come on. And that way,
Yep.
and I loved it, right? And not that it's any worse now. It's just different, right? And so we have to
Sure.
change with those times. We are different parents than our parents were. Right. And our parents were different parents than our grandparents were. And I think, but having I'm going to get this back to motorcycling. Having traveled all over the country with my motorcycle and witnessed all the different cultures that exist, right? The United States is just like Europe. Every state is its own country. We have our own food, we have our own culture, we have our own people, right? But in the middle of the country where us three reside, we're all very similar, right? Small town
Yep.
is small town. We all know that, we came home when the streetlights came on. Like, we all know what that means, right? And so there's this very commonality that we share, right? You can go to a small town in the Midwest and you see a Dairy Queen and you're like, oh shit, I think I'm at home. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Like, it's a very, similar thing, right? You guys are in Nebraska, right, Casey?
Yep.
Yeah. So immediately when you were like, when Luke said Ryan lives in North Dakota, you're like, oh shit. You know what I mean? Like, somebody in Nebraska would know what that means, but somebody in Florida would not know what that means. You say they're in North Dakota, they're like, North Dakota where? You know what I mean?
Yep.
But immediately you were like, oh shit. Like, and we all know what that meant, right? So I think that it's great to hear that. It's great to hear that you've taken your ideas of what you've learned. You must have tested high in empathy in your Myers-Briggs, right?
You'd be surprised.
See, I made this assumption. I'm in healthcare,
Yeah.
and I did not test very high on empathy either.
Yeah. My wife made me take it, and I'm not kidding you. It was the lowest of all my skills finders. It was the lowest
funny.
one. But
But
I explained to her it's because like those that deserve empathy that are trying, I feel like I'm very empathetic for. It's the ones.
Right.
So, but
Right.
then she explained to me that's not what empathy is. I said, okay.
but
It sounded good. It sounded good in my head, right?
right, but on the flip side of that, you get shit done, right? And so I think that's the when you don't test high in empathy, you usually have this the other side of that scale is your
Sure.
your ability to get stuff done, right? But I admire the fact that you found a way to balance your business, your and I'm not going to say obligation to your kids, right? Because that's not at all how you explained it. Right. I mean, some people say like, I've heard this before. Like one of my friends said this to me. I'm like, hey, do you want to go do X, Y, Z on Saturday? I have, I want to work on my bike. He's like, I got to babysit my kids. I go, what did you just say? I'm like, you're not babysitting your kids. They're your kids. Like you can't say that. You can't say
You're not
babysitting
getting paid
your kids.
for it. Sorry.
Yeah, exactly.
You're actually
no one's-
paying
yeah,
them for you to babysit them.
Right. You're not. Besides, you're not wearing a pleated skirt and a spaghetti strap tank top, so you're not babysitting anybody, right?
Yeah.
So it's I'm glad to hear when I asked you that question that it was easy for you to answer, right? You kind of went into all of the things that you kind of do and focus on. That you didn't explain any of those things. That obligation. It was like I'm glad to do it. It's a privilege to do it. I like that. I love to hear that when people say when you see your kids and they're still happy to see you. And then that gives you that, like, it gives you that, like, pride inside. Like, damn, like, I did something right. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I've made a lot of mistakes, but this is not one of them.
Yeah.
Like that. Yeah, I can completely identify with that. So I appreciate that a lot about what you had to say about that. So thank you for answering that question.
Yeah. Yeah, kids are crazy, aren't they? They have this innate ability to see through all of our bullshit that adults can't. And then,
Right?
they can make you feel this small when you're not at your best and feel really good when you do something right. So yeah, they are because again, you try to take the easy road with the kid and they see right through it. It's if you're not sincere, it's pretty obvious.
They can pick you up when you're down though too without doing anything, right? And that's the other thing that I really like about that is that it gives you that opportunity to be if you accept it, right, and you humble yourself. Luke and I talked about that, right? If you have the ability to humble yourself and say I'm sorry, I was wrong, the doors that open after that are incredible. And and I appreciate that in all good parents. So good on you. You must have had good parents, at the same time. So that's really good, So
Well, hey,
Yeah.
Casey, before we kind of start wrapping this up a little bit, we're going to shift gear a bit back to the business. I know we're fastly approaching holiday season. Any releases, any sales, anything we should, our listeners should know about coming down the pipe, whether it's holiday season going into 2026 and new product, anything you want to put out there for us?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm actually glad you said something because I was starting to think. I mean, when you said we were going to be about an hour, I was like, oh gosh, how am I going to talk for an hour? And apparently, I talk too much because we are.
It's Ryan. Ryan doesn't shut up, so it's actually all his fault. So
My fault,
I'm just
my
kidding.
fault.
I'm
But
kidding.
yeah, no. And then I didn't have I was thinking, how is I going to get an opportunity? And I thought maybe you're going to have me back to cover a few things I hadn't. And I wanted.
Well, we still
to
haven't
get out
talked
there,
about
but,
we haven't talked about the race team or anything. So you'll definitely be back so we can talk more.
Yeah.
More business.
So that was one of them. But no, so like new product. That's we've been working for quite a while here now on performance stuff. And one of the cool ones is we've launched it about a week ago. It's a full stage 2 kit. and we've partnered with with GMR Performance as well as IWS tuners. And so, if a guy gets a bike now, he's got his 121, we can get you the full bolt on everything, complete with the calibration. So all they have to do is send us a make, model, whatever. And, it, on one hand, that's not very novel, right? Like, okay, yeah, you could do that for years. But for us, the difference is this isn't, you choose this cam. This is the setup. Here's what it is. These have all been designed together. We worked with GMR and the tuner to develop exhaust that works with this cam. Now, are there going to be cams out there that do better at horsepower or better? I mean, yes, but these all work extremely well together. So,
you've taken the guesswork
out
of for a lot of folks.
Yeah. And so when I said better on horsepower or torque, I just mean like in a range. I'm not saying like that we spent all this time and then release some inferior product just to specify. But
sure. Well, there's so many variables when you go down that rabbit hole, right? I mean,
yes.
I mean, it's crazy.
And that's what we found ourselves, right? Like trying to get customers to avoid the pitfalls of wasted money. I've had friends and know folks who have gotten into these builds, and it was, because it, like we said before, we don't all have the money to drop and just boom, one shot. You end up getting yourself down this hole where maybe you selected a horsepower cam, but now you have an exhaust that's built for torque, and now, they balance each other out, and neither one really performs well. It's like, well, what are we after, right? So we wanted to develop something that was extremely rideable, gave the customers the best of the best for performance, and made it easy. So this is the kit, this is what you get. It's, and at that we can get a price point that's lower. We can give you a map that is spot on, out of the box, easy to go, launch controls built in, so you can hammer it wide open throttle. Nice. It'll bang against the rev limiter. And
love it.
The IWS tuner is not the first one to do that either. There's other tuners that have rev limiters, but they don't have the launch controls built in, similar to like the race team, where if you do that on some other ones and you drop the clutch, it's going to break the tire loose. It's gonna, and this one, it won't. It's tuned, dialed in to just hammer and go. And
that's
so
awesome.
It is really cool. And so, we spent a lot of time doing this to give customers the answer of, well, what's the best? Well, I don't know, but here's this dyno chart, which is pretty damn good for the price. Sure. And here, you don't have to think. You're going to get a good sound exhaust from us. You're going to get a quality cam. By the way, you're getting it all through me. We developed it with other, we didn't just try to pretend we were the expert at all the industries. We worked with the experts in the industries, and we said, okay, now we're going to give this package that is going to be supported from all legs. So if you do have an issue with the tuner, or one of the maps that was loaded on there or something, the tech support at IWS, they're bought in on this system, this kit. They know exactly what it is. So you call them, what's your make, what's your mod, boom, they remote it, they can fix it. They can, where if you had chosen your own cam, if you brought your bike to them and they put it in the shop and charged you $800 to $1,200 for a calibration, they could tune out whatever issue, but they don't need to do that because we've done all this work on the front end, and we're saying, if this is what you want and you like what this dyno chart looks like and you like what Tab Performance sounds like, click this one button and we'll send it all to you.
Plug and play, right? I mean, that's so great.
So that's been really cool. And you brought up the race, performance was always a piece of ours, but I would say it was like 1B. Sound was always 1A, and performance was 1B. It's not that it didn't perform well, but the zombie baffles, they were not. They would sacrifice a little on the low end when you didn't have a cat, for the sake of sound, and so as we're trying to expand what we are really good at into other segments where we talked about the customers that didn't fit in our box. We have to let them go. We're trying to continue as we expand into other things to take what we're really good at and just encompass more of the folks. And so, as we get into truly performance, where that's 1A and sound is 1B, as far as priority goes, that race experience has been awesome for us. So we've by running the race team last year, we've been experienced or exposed to a lot of experienced folks and contacts and people that can help us. Not that we didn't know what we were doing, but you're playing in a different sandbox now, and it doesn't sound. I mean, it's an adjacent sandbox,
Right.
but it's still a different sandbox.
Yeah,
And so,
for sure.
what you can kind of keep your eye on the lookout for is we just released a new Cat Delete Cross Under for the Indian Challenger, and we are soon going to be launching our own stainless 2-in-1 systems. That was
Okay.
kind of our first mess with stainless internally, and so that's a market that typically Tab hasn't had any say in. We do have some full step 2-in-1 headers, all chrome, all black
Sure.
that match finishes, but we've never had the stainless one.
Okay.
So that's more the race
exciting.
side.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we're last year we ran. Should have asked them if I could mention it, but it won't take customers long to figure out if they know any of the Moto America King of the Bagger stuff. But we ran a bike last year with a competitor's exhaust, and it was developed for that platform, and it was a great exhaust. But this year we're going to run our own. So we just finished up the
Okay.
development,
That's
and then
great.
we're going to take that and then offer that to customers who are, more and more customers are looking to build their baggers into, tighter and higher bags and
Sure.
more on the race style stuff. And so they need exhaust that matches that. And so I know that you kind of asked this, that's what's coming soon, what's already just launched, and what is going to be our focus into the spring
Okay.
as we go into another race season on 2026 here. So we're planning on running again. And,
That's great.
we had a little bit of a kind of we had actually a better start than I was expecting into the 25 season, and then had some issues being new, and
Sure.
not knowing what we didn't know. And then, man, everything was falling right into place. And then our rider had an incident that, no fault of his own, but then ended up having surgery and having to, getting injured. And so kind of derailed everything. It's such a short season. And then,
Sure.
by the time we got back that very last season, I mean, gosh, he couldn't even, he wouldn't have even been cleared to play basketball or something like that. But he was out there because the boot, it was
Sure.
lateral. So he was cleared to ride, but, he's a lot tougher than me too. That's but no, so yeah, that we're excited about that this year too. So I mean, if there's customers, the one thing I would say I think is a little different or cool is we're not right. I mean, we're doing this performance thing because we enjoy it and we enjoy motorcycles, but it also gives us an opportunity to get to know our customers more. And so unlike maybe some of the other rider teams who are paid professional riders that are there to race,
Mhm.
we're here because it's important for our business, and it's only important to our business if our not the race fans, the customers, right? So if you've thought about it and haven't seen it, you want to come down to the King of the Baggers race, we encourage folks to come up to our paddock. And there's going to be times, maybe an hour before the race, if something's hitting the fan where we need a little space, and we would kindly, but
Sure.
for the most part, it doesn't matter. We want customers to come,
Yeah.
walk up, touch the bike. There's,
That's awesome.
come right up to it, right? Like that's, for us, this is what this is about. It's a way to share this whole new exciting thing that we're doing with the customers. And then that also gives us a little better reality on what they're looking for, because we want to develop new product for our own race bike to do better, and then make a street version, and then offer that to folks and stuff like that. So again, I just, anybody who maybe hasn't given it a shot and thinks it's a clown car race, like, it's legit.
Well, what a fun customer experience too. Like, hey, I read Tab. Let's go check it out. And you can walk up there, touch the bike. I mean, man, all of a sudden you got a customer for life. If you didn't already, you probably do after that.
Sure. Yeah. So offer goes to you guys as well. If there's any KOBs in your state, at Moto America, I don't know or how close to where you're at there is, but I mean, they're
Sounds
all
like an
over.
excuse to take a road trip. That's what I just heard.
I think so too.
Did you guys race in Brainerd?
So that one, no. So Brainerd is, I think, a BRL event.
Okay.
Um, and then because that's over in Minnesota, right?
Yep. Southern Minnesota is
Yeah.
where. Yep.
Oh, let's be
Yeah. So
RL.
that's actually where our rider's from and our crew
Okay.
chief and everybody. So I said no. They went on a track day and raced in open class because Kyle just wanted more seat time. And so if you happen to be there and maybe you saw the tab, we were the only bagger out there just banging around with the sport bikes. But no, yeah. So I know Brainerd does not host a King of the Baggers. So we kick off the season at Daytona, and then there's Atlanta. We have Laguna Seca, Mid Ohio. You go New Jersey. I know I'm missing one or two in there, but oh, Coda down by Austin, Texas
Oh yeah,
is
yeah,
another
yeah.
one.
Yep.
And
Yep.
so they're kind of all over. And yeah, they're a lot of fun. But yeah, again, if whether it's somebody watching this or you guys, the offer us out there, we seriously want our customers to come up and experience it with us. It's a lot of fun. So
Folks,
Nice.
get out there next year and go check it out.
Yeah.
I mean, that's I'm in. Let's do it.
yeah,
Let's go. Yeah. Well, hey, Casey, thanks for joining us. We really do appreciate your time. I know you're busy, work and family as well, and running the dad taxi. But before we let you go, tell us where to find Tab Performance and you, social media and website and all that good stuff.
yeah. So we are on all the normal socials: Facebook, TikTok, YouTube, all the above. Our YouTube channel, I would say, is a primary one because again, if you see most of our stuff, it's informational, right? So you guys get to do the entertainment. We want it to be easy for them to find how to install every product step by step, or have sound clips or this or that. And so that's a good one to follow, just informationally. It's not
There's a
gonna
lot on
fill
there.
yeah, it's not going to fill your feed with a bunch of stuff all the time, but it's going to keep you up to date and be a good resource for our customers. But no, you can go straight to tabperformance.com or any one of our great dealers. I don't know that there's a dealer in an actual OEM dealer out there that doesn't at least some of them don't know. If it's a new parts manager and he's always sold this, don't. But they're almost all set up as dealers, and so
Okay.
you just gotta go in and ask them. Hey, they can all get Tab Performance. We can any dealer that you work with, we can get. And the one nice thing, dealers a lot of times have to have minimum buys with us. They don't. I don't care. We'll set up a dealer for one order if that's what their
That's
customer
great.
wants. I don't really care. I just want to get our product to the customer and get to meet the dealers too. And but if you know what you want, you want to call us. Our phone number's right on the website. You can call us. You can email us. You can hop on the website if you already know what you want and just pull the trigger. So we try to make it easy, but yeah, no, it's those are pretty much
Okay.
the
And guys,
the
when
ways it is.
if you call them, make sure you tell them that Luke and Ryan said Casey get to work. He's slacking off. Too busy. Too busy coaching basketball. Get to work. No, I'm kidding. Don't
Exactly. Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So
Well,
no,
thank you
but I
again.
appreciate you guys having me on.
Yeah, Casey, thank you so much, and we'll let's do this again here real soon, and we'll after the race season starts, let's circle back around and talk a little racing.
Sounds great.
All right.
Well, best
Thanks.
of luck to you guys, and have a good rest of your day. And
Yeah, appreciate you. Yeah,
start
hang
the
on for
holiday
us 1
season.
second. Yeah, happy holidays, everyone. Thanks for tuning in. Don't forget to check us out on all our socials, and if you feel like supporting us and throwing us a little extra support in holiday season, Patreon's always out there. And until next week, we'll see y'all down the road.
Peace.